Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts, sports journalist David Todd, and from SteelersDepot.com, Dave Bryan. Just a couple of Daves, chillin', talking Steelers. Now, here's Dave and Dave.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Dave. He's Dave Bryan at SteelersDepot.com, the place to get you latest and greatest Steelers information. And I'm David Todd. It's Season 9, Episode 40. And Dave, in the background today, if you hear jackhammers or sirens wailing or whatever it may be, I am in the middle of New York City. I was in a building last night that was evacuated because CNN was nearby because people are sending things in the mail that they shouldn't be sending. So greetings from the Big Apple.
Greetings indeed. Happy Friday, and a lot, busy week here before the Steelers take on the Browns in what we've talked about, a 4-game stretch that I think we'll learn a little bit about the team as far as the AFC North goes. I'm not so convinced that we're going to learn a lot. The only thing I think we're going to learn about the Steelers defense in the next 4 games is if indeed they're as bad as what some fear. Is some fear. Right, is some fear. I'm not so convinced that if we come out of these 4 games, might have a little bit of false security. I don't know, but I just don't know if we're going to learn anything but maybe bad about the defense. But if they come out, make no mistake about it, they could come out of these 4 games, David. I really expect them to. I expect them to come out of these 4 games 4-0 or at worst 3-1.
Okay, let me make a proposition to you, a proposal, a general thought, and
you gonna make me an honest man?
Hell no. That might mean I have to be honest too. I think everybody's immediate reaction is going to be no, but I'll give you my logic behind it. This is a must-win for the Steelers, maybe more than I think we'll look at Cincinnati and you say, well, there's time left. I mean, the Steelers sit here at 3-2-1. You've got a Browns team that's at best an average team. They've shown that they're now a competitive NFL team. I don't think anybody walks in and expects a double-digit line. You certainly go to Cleveland and some teams are going to be underdogs. So put them wherever you want, 20, 25. They're somewhere in the back third of NFL teams. But 2 things. One is if the Steelers lose this game, obviously it's bad because they're 3-1. If the Steelers lose this game, it's bad because their divisional record all of a sudden is not good. And if the Steelers lose this game, by the way, have you looked up and seen what their conference record is going into this game? It's 1-2-1. You need to win all these divisional and conference games. So there are 2 things here that I say it's a must-win game. If the Steelers don't win this game, maybe they're not a good team. Maybe they're just an average team. You're playing at home. You're playing the Browns. And it just puts you behind so many 8 balls that you've kind of worked your way out of now with this, 2-game win streak. This is a must-win game for the Steelers in my book.
I'm not going to go that far just yet. Obviously, if you don't win this game, it's going to tell you a lot about your team, I think.
Yeah. All hell's going to break loose.
Right. But even so, of these next 2 games, I would much rather lose to the Browns than I would the Ravens because, let's face it, we don't expect the Browns to work into any division.
Doesn't happen at the end of the year.
Right. Division tiebreakers or whatnot. So, it would be, oh, dang, we lost to them, kind of deal, and we probably shouldn't have. I'm still not going to go with this is a must-win game. Now, next week, come knocking on my back door asking that question against the Ravens because I really think that especially when it comes to the division, I think that game most definitely could play a big role in it because they've already lost to the Ravens once. You lose to them again, they definitely have the tiebreakers, at that point, and they're a couple games ahead of you in the schedule on top of it at that point as well too. So
one thing, if the Steelers win the next 2, they're in the driver's seat, and if they lose the next 2, their season might be over.
Yeah, I would go with that. You would need a lot of help at that point for maybe a wild card. But I mean, who else? We think San Diego, or not, it's not San Diego, Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Los Angeles is going to come out with one wild card, possibly, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've said it. I think they're the third best team in the AFC. I've said it for a couple of weeks now.
So the question becomes: is what would it take for what would it take for the record for a second wild card team? Well, the obvious answer is probably going to be 10-6 or 9-7, right? And if you go 9-7, you might be in a tiebreaker situation with a couple teams. I mean, look, Miami's not good, right? I mean, can we admit that?
Saw that last night.
I mean, they started off what did they start off 3-0 and then lost 4 in a row now, or something along those lines, or
they're not good, and nobody. The best team, as we said last week, the best team that's not in the NFC. Well, look, who knows what the Texans are? Who knows what the Jaguars are? Indy's got too big a hole. The Jets are kind of a little bit of a wild card to me. I don't think they're good, and I don't think they'll be there at the end of the day with Darnold. He's learning his way. But it looks like it would come. If the Texans win that division, it looks like it should come from the North. But you lose 2 games, the Bengals and the Ravens are in your face.
How many? Your easy bake oven just went off. How many teams in the AFC will finish with either how many teams will finish with an above 500 record?
How many teams?
Anybody other than the Patriots in the East going to finish with a above 500 record?
No, I wouldn't bet on it. I'd say the Jets are 40-60 on that, but I wouldn't bet on it.
Okay. Anybody in the South other than, let's say, Houston going to end with a better than 500 record?
Tough to rule the Jags out right now, but I would right now. I would put the Jags at. I would say the Jags have a better chance than not to finish above 500.
Better than Tennessee. I mean, Indianapolis is it right? I mean, Indianapolis would have to win 7 of their next 9 games. Is that right? I mean that.
Yeah. So what's interesting about the Colts is the Colts are 2-5 with a +4 point differential, whereas the Jags are -30 point differential. The Titans are -21. I mean, the Colts are probably a team that's going to get better as the season goes on, and they may really mess that division up. Having started so badly and lost a couple games they could have won, they may win some games here and make everybody in that division, 8-8 again.
Right. So I mean, you agree that at most one team, the division winner, will be over 500, and that's it.
Yeah, or I guess I would say right now, put the Jags at 8-8 or so, and I think the Texans now win the division.
Right, but I mean, I'm talking over
5 in a row.
What's that?
The Texans have won 5 in a row.
Yeah, and look, Deshaun Watson looked good last night. I mean, make no mistake about it. He was really firing the football good. Okay,
Nuke is the man. Can't not talk Nuke when you talk.
Lord, I mean, he's top 5 easily. Yeah, easily.
No doubt.
Okay, AFC West.
I don't think the Broncos will be there, so clearly 2 and not the other 2.
Right, so clearly 2 and not the other 2. So what you've just told me is you've got 4 division winners that are likely to be over 500. Then the Chargers over 500. So what you're telling me then is if whoever doesn't win the AFC North, then the other wild card team could potentially go 9-7, right? I mean, you could potentially go 9-7 in the AFC North, not win the division, and get the wild card.
Yeah, the one thing is the Steelers aren't going to go 9-7. We know that.
Well, 9-7 or better. I mean, not 9-7.
No, I'm saying they're going to go 9-6-1, or
Right. But 9-6-1 is better than 9-7, right?
Yes, it is.
Technically, I mean, I've learned that about the math so far. So, I mean, could they go 9-6-1?
Yeah,
even if they lose this week to the Browns.
Yes, yeah, they could. It's just you got the Saints, you got the Patriots, you got Carolina, you got you've got the Bengals again. You've got some. We've talked about the Chargers. The Steelers' schedule is it's not. They don't have an easy schedule.
They could lose still. They could lose to the. I mean, they have possibly 4 losses still in their hand right now that they could suffer, in my opinion. All right, so that's why I say I don't think it's a must-win. I mean, it took us a long time to get to me answering whether or not it's a must-win game. But no, I don't think so. I'll be very disappointed, though, and I think most of our listeners would be as well if they don't win this game. This is a game against Cleveland that they should win coming off the bye, and I guess now is a perfect time to kind of get into the injury report coming out of Thursday ahead of this game. We'll look at both sides real quick as far as that goes, and it starts with the Steelers. Look, some good news, some better news than what I initially thought we might see this week with a couple of these guys. Morgan Burnett has practiced full on both Wednesday and Thursday, and it looks like he's going to be back in uniform this week. Now, how much is he going to play? We'll see. Mike Tomlin said on Tuesday about, first thing is showing he can walk on and off the field and stuff like that. And let's not forget that Morgan Burnett has not played since week 2. It's easy to assume that Terrell Edmonds, I think he has said as much, that he's going to start this week. So we'll see some, if Morgan Burnett dresses, then we'll probably see him in some dime type situations there. LJ Fort, full participation again on Thursday. That's 2 days in a row. We expect to see him back this week. Marquise Pouncey and Ramon Foster, don't worry about those guys. Those are coach's decision, not injury related. Xavier Grimble returned from a limited participation. Him and Darius Hayward Bay returned from limited participation on Wednesday to practice fully on Thursday. It's going to be, look, what do you do with Darius Hayward Bay? I mean, if he's full again on Friday, are you going to go back to dressing 6 wide receivers?
That'll be the interesting decision this week, and it will be a commentary on both James Washington and Hunter. If Hayward Bay gets his spot back because he's such a good special teams player, I can't imagine they will sit James Washington. So the question is, did Hunter do? Has Hunter impressed enough, and maybe not just on the block? Obviously, that's the play everybody's going to remember. But has he done enough to earn a helmet in place of somebody else?
Yeah, and to hear Ben Roethlisberger talk this past week, it sounds like he's expecting to have Hunter on the field some, maybe the next couple of weeks. Now, is that guy? Look, Darius Hayward Bay, make no mistake about it, he's a good special teams guy. So maybe you just give Darius Hayward Bay another week off with that ankle. Maybe because of the way this safety position shakes out. And the linebacker situation shakes out, maybe you can dress all 6 wide receivers this go around this time. Because look, and the last guy we're going to talk about on this list is Marcus Gilbert, and I didn't see this one coming. I don't think many people did. He has not participated in the last 2 days, Wednesday and Thursday, because of a knee injury, and of course we didn't know that because of the bye week and coming out of the game against the Bengals there. No word, I don't think, from Mike Tomlin on that. So if Marcus Gilbert sits, well then obviously Matt Filer dresses. Now you have been dressing an extra offensive lineman every week anyway. Maybe you don't dress the extra offensive lineman this week, meaning Banner, and maybe that gives you the ability to dress 6 wide receivers this week if Gilbert does not dress. So there's a little bit of gray area there. Goodness gracious, I don't think I want to see Gilbert not dress and then maybe have to line up a snap or two against Myles Garrett on the other side against Filer or something like that. So definitely something to watch on Friday. The main name to watch on Friday would be Marcus Gilbert on the Steelers injury report.
Okay.
The Browns injury report is even, you want to look at one that has some question marks, and it's that one. They have, a name. Look, they're not going to have E.J. Gaines this week. They're not going to have Rashard Higgins, wide receiver. They're not going to have Joe Schobert, a linebacker this week. 2 other starters, J.C. Tretter, their center, is dealing with an ankle injury, has not practiced this week, and Demarius Randall, their starting safety, with a groin and ankle. I think the word is they expect Randall and Tretter to both play Sunday against the Steelers, but without a doubt, both those guys are not going to be 100% there. And David Njoku's dealing with a knee injury. I don't think that's going to be a big deal with him. But I think the two names really that along with the other three that I said aren't going to play in this game, Randall is a name to watch, and Treader as far as actual participation goes in Sunday's game. Because if those guys aren't fully healthy, this is a Browns team that already is going to look a lot different at a few positions than in the Week 1 game against the Steelers here. So, to me, they have a little bit bigger injury concerns heading into the weekend than the Steelers do.
Yeah, and don't let one of the, if you play for the Browns, obviously you haven't gotten much recognition over the past couple of years. You're never on, you're rarely on national television, if ever, and teams aren't talking about your games. But Schobel is probably, you watch Schobel play, and he is he's not Luke Kuechly, but he is a really good player that very few people know about, and that's a big loss inside for that defense.
Yeah, and look, I think they're doing a good job with Avery in there, so I don't view him as big of a loss. But Avery's obviously less experienced and still trying to fill his way out, in certain aspects of that defense as well too. I mean, it'd be fun to watch Avery play in that game. Obviously, I think they would probably want Joe Schobert in there, but I don't think it's maybe as far a drop off. Maybe other than him probably knowing some assignment duty as far as that goes. So, look, this like I just said, this is going to be a little bit different team than the Steelers faced in Week 1. And how do you think them having to play all these overtime games is going to weigh into this?
Yeah, that's an interesting thing because generally my view is I kind of discount stuff like that. You play an extra, maybe a guy plays an extra 10 plays or it's 5 plays on each side or whatever. And if the pace of an NFL game, if teams are hurrying, you might have 80 offensive and defensive plays on the high end. You could have 55, or I think in that game in London where the Chargers won, I think they had 44 offensive plays. So I don't, so many factors are in there. I don't really think that matters, but I do, this is a team, listen to the Scott talk on Wednesday when he joined us. It's a team that, could be, it could have won a couple games that it didn't win. That's the NFL, man. We talked about how close games are, the margin of victory this year. Games are higher scoring, and they're generally the final margins have been closer than ever before. So it's a different league. And so Dave, when you think about the Steelers coming out in this game, they trucked the Falcons at home in their last home game. They beat the Bengals. And they beat the Bengals, and Ben will be the first to say they left points on the field, which put their defense in a bad position to potentially lose the game, and the defense couldn't come up with a stop. When you think about this Steelers offense, how do you think of them as a balanced offense? Do they need to be a balanced offense? When you come out, they were able to run the ball effectively against the Browns in Week 1. How are you going to attack them in this game? And by the way, if you win the toss, are you taking the ball?
If I win the toss, I am not taking the ball.
Interesting. I think Mike made a change in the Bengal game. He took the ball. We see him go back and forth on this, and he confers with Ben on it. And I don't. If you have confidence in your offense, I don't know why you wouldn't generally take the ball. But if you think the other team's offense isn't good, I guess that's the answer. I think I would always take the ball with this offense. It'll be interesting to see what Mike does. Are you coming out and trying to establish the run game, or what's Randy going to call here in the early part of the game?
Yeah, I think I run James Conner early. Let me tell you one reason why I might not take the ball to start with. The primary reason is, can you think back? I mean, look, the last 7? This will be like the eighth season in a row. A different Browns quarterback has started a game at Heinz Field. Can you name the?
Wait, tell me, it'd be the eighth straight game a different quarterback has started.
It will at Heinz Field for the Browns.
8 straight different guys. That's amazing. That is amazing.
I'm counting them up. Yes, Mayfield will be the 8th different. Can you name?
No.
David Todd for $100,000. Can you name the 7 previous starters?
No chance. I don't even know where to start.
Yeah, you know last year, the rookie.
Yeah, the kid from Notre Dame, Kaiser. Yeah. Did Kessler start the game before that?
Who?
Cody Kessler?
No, in fact, he's not even on this list.
Cody Kessler, did you see that funny tweet that one of the news services sent out? Cody Kessler started 8 games for the Cleveland Browns, and this is the only picture we have of him. And it was him standing on the sideline.
So here they are. From most recent, Deshaun Kaiser, RG3.
Wouldn't have gotten that.
Johnny Manziel in 2015, right?
That was one of Johnny's best games, by the way.
Right. He went 33 of 45 in that game for 372 yards.
He played great.
Brian Hoyer before Manziel, Jason Campbell, Thaddeus Lewis.
Jason Campbell. Jesus, Thaddeus Lewis. Good God.
And Colt McCoy.
Colt had a couple of games along the way that were okay, but
right,
man,
he is, and he started 2 in a row at Heinz Field there. So it goes Colt, Thaddeus, Jason Campbell, Brian Hoyer, Johnny Manziel, Robert Griffin III, and Deshaun Kaiser, and now Baker Mayfield.
Wow.
How's that? Now, not only my reasoning behind, look, this is Baker Mayfield's first start against the Steelers at Heinz Field. I want him to have the ball first in his own end of the field, yada yada, everything that goes along with that. Here's a stat that I came across yesterday digging around for you. Ben Roethlisberger on Wednesday was asked, well, what are some of the challenges, Ben, of coming out of the bye week and yada yada. He goes, try to start fast. The last couple weeks we've been doing that. We've been playing well offensively, but we can't take a half to get going. Well, if you remember before the 2 games before the bye week, they played pretty well, right? I mean, against the Atlanta Falcons, they scored touchdowns on their first 2 possessions, and while they didn't start as fast on the road against the Bengals in Week 6 as they did the Sunday prior against the Falcons, they did score 2 touchdowns on what was effectively just 5 total first half possessions against the Bengals. Those 2 scoring drives, by the way, both came at in the second quarter and each covered 75 yards. All right. So how has Ben Roethlisberger and the Steelers offense during the first quarters of games immediately following their bye weeks?
Oh, good God. You researched that? God bless you. What's the answer?
Hey, that's why they that's why they pay me the big money here. For starters, you have to go all the way back. Now I want this to sink in. You have to go all the way back to 2008 to find the last time a Steelers offense scored a first quarter touchdown in their first game back following a bye. How many years?
I hear it. I'm just trying to decide if it's meaningful.
All right, that's 2009, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 7. That's 9 years. That's 9 games.
Is it meaningful? Do you think it's meaningful?
9 is a hell of a damn trend. What if you had a 0 for 9 that you were dealing with the man with?
Oh yeah. So, but yeah, those are always meaningful. 0 for 1 is meaningful.
We can come up with some justifications for putting a C on the man, right?
Yeah. I don't. It's just like different years, different opponents, different environments, different players. But the same quarterback. I mean, it's a good,
I wonder. Okay, it is a good stat, and if I had time, I would go back and find out if there's any other NFL team that comes close to that.
Yeah, and that's obviously the right question. Is there a control? Like, is it just random variance, or no? And that's tell Elias to do a little work for you. Do the other 31 teams. Yeah,
and it took me a while to have to sift through to get that one right there. I mean, if some of this was just push button and make it a little bit easier, some things on Pro Football Reference is just not. It goes beyond their filter, and then I end up falling down these damn stat holes, and 2 hours later I'm climbing back out of them.
How many? What's James Conner's stat line at the end of the day on Sunday?
Well, hold on here. Now, I'm not done impressing you.
All right. All right.
Since that 2008 game against the Bengals, the Steelers offense has scored just 6 first quarter points, 2 field goals in 19 total possessions.
That's pretty interesting. That's a good stat. Good.
So they only have not only no touchdowns dating back to 2008 in the first quarter of post-bye games, they only have 2 field goals to go along with it. All right, so dating back to 2004, Roethlisberger's rookie season, the Steelers offense has scored all of 51 total first quarter points in post-bye week games. So 50.
So let me ask you this. So what percentage of possessions does the average NFL team score on? Is it 30%? Is it what's the number?
Yeah, I don't know. I would just be guessing. I don't know.
I'm sure that's a stat that's generally out there. So the number you gave us in the first quarter there, 2 out of 19, that's 10.5%. It's clearly, significantly below average. That's an interesting number.
Okay, well, going back to 2004, with those 51 total points in the first quarter, they are averaging just 3.6 points a game in the first quarter of post-bye week games. Now, for his career, Roethlisberger is 71 of 117 passing. Damn it, David, I've researched these stats. You're going to hear them.
Did you put it up on Twitter? The Steelers haven't scored a first quarter touchdown since out of the bye week since 2008. You got to tweet that at 12:59 on Sunday.
I put it up there, all right. I put it up there yesterday.
We did it again at 12:59 on Sunday.
Yeah, in case you're curious, Roethlisberger for his career is 71 of 117 passing for 781 yards with 4 touchdowns and 3 interceptions during first quarters of games following the team's regular season bye week. That equates to a passer rating of 81.2 in the first quarter and a adjusted net yards per passing attempt stat of just 5.47. 2 of those first quarter post-bye week touchdown passes that Roethlisberger has thrown so far during his career came against the New England Patriots way back in his 2004 rookie season. So it will be quite monumental, in my opinion, if the Steelers score a first quarter touchdown against the Browns, and if that happens to be a Ben Roethlisberger touchdown pass on top of it. Now, you want something to be afraid of. The Browns defense, in case you haven't looked, is not bad. And they have allowed an average of just 2.3 points per game in the first quarter of games entering week 8. And just 1 touchdown have the Browns defense allowed in 19 total offensive first quarter possessions. So
what happens in the first quarter? Odds. What do you think the odds are they score a touchdown? Over under 50%.
The Steelers scoring a touchdown in the first quarter? Under. I'm going to try to find a line on that somewhere. My degenerate ass is going to try to take advantage of this digging I just did here.
Don't tell them to get the bet in before you publicize that information.
Yeah, I might have to publish this podcast, right? Because a couple of degenerates listening to this along with us, probably. But that's kind of significant. I mean, this is a good Browns defense, especially early in games, and I guess all this goes back to I'm kicking off to the Browns if given the opportunity, and if I'm the Browns, I'm kicking off to the Steelers. If I win the toss here in this one. So let's get back to what you said expect to happen. I would come out running the football, because the last thing that I think you want Roethlisberger to slowly get into a groove with this thing, So I'm coming out running, and then obviously the script would be heavy that way, I guess.
Yeah, I always debate about this. I don't think it's a passing league and go out and throw the ball around, but the Browns haven't shown that that they necessarily can stop the run. So be a balanced offense, come at them and give them a bit of variety and see what you have out there.
I don't want Myles Garrett to settle into a rhythm early, so I want him to have to think about the run and all like that, right from the get-go. And let's not forget, James Conner had outside of that fumble in the first game of the season. James Conner, played good. The offensive line played good. All that, and that's coming right out of the chute. So, these two teams know each other a little bit more. The Browns, I think, are going to be a little bit tired in this game, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So, heck yeah, I want them to have to do quite a bit of trying to tackle James Conner. I think James Conner could have a big game again.
Who worries you? Put these three quarterbacks in order of who you'd like to face as the Steelers defense: Joe Flacco, Andy Dalton, and Baker Mayfield.
Obviously Baker at the end. I mean, I most want to face him because he's less experienced. And right now, when you look at his receiving core, David, I mean, it's a mess right now. It really, I mean, remember, they had Josh Gordon in that first game, right? They don't have him.
He caught that touchdown pass. That was a good catch by him.
They don't have Josh Gordon. They're not going to have Higgins. You remember me talking about Higgins ahead of that first game?
Yep.
I know he's not a big name, but at least he's a comforting. You can kind of seek comfort in him probably doing the right things on the field. I mean, Todd Haley joked a little bit during his press conference yesterday about all these kids, and he's not even knowing all their names properly right now outside of Jarvis. Here's their depth chart right now. Jarvis Landry, Damone Ratley, I don't even know who that kid is. Antonio Callaway, very green young kid. Brashard Perryman, how long has Brashard Perryman been on this roster now? A couple of weeks?
Yeah, tops, yeah.
I mean, does that guy scare you? I mean,
Callaway, look, Jarvis Landry he's a top 10 receiver in the NFL. He's not gonna beat you deep, probably. Don't say anything against this defense, but he's not gonna beat you deep. Callaway is a guy that actually scares me. He's had some drops, he's had some issues, but he's talented and he can fly. So he actually is the guy. Njoku's a good player. Their tight ends are good players. We'll see, what they do. But Callaway's the guy who would have the big play.
All right. Higgins is sitting, so these will probably be your five. And in fact, one of them, Damari Scott, who I don't even know who that kid is either, showed up on the injury report for the Browns on Thursdays. So if he has to scratch, they're going to probably have to bring up somebody off their practice squad. So this is not outside of Jarvis Landry. In fact, what do you do? If you're the Steelers, do you just have Joe Hayden do you just two-man Landry all day? You have to. There is no way in hell I'm letting Jarvis Landry catch a football, and I damn sure not going to let him catch 4 or 5 of them.
Well, that's work. There's work to do in the slot to cover that. I mean, Mike Hilton's going to be on call here in this one, and with safety help over the top. But look, he's going to get his. I mean, you just hope his is 5 for 60 and not 9 for 112 and a touchdown.
Right. You keep him under 100. Don't let him stand in the end zone. And Njoku and Todd Haley kind of hinted at this during his press conference. Because of the newness and the youngness of this wide receiver core, he kind of hinted that Baker Mayfield's going with the guys that he trusts right now. Well, who are the guys that he trusts right now? It's easy to point those out. It's Jarvis Landry and Njoku. And I tell you another guy that Todd Haley ought to be strung up if he doesn't use in this game, in the passing game, is?
Todd Haley should be strung up if what? Duke Johnson?
Good guess. Duke Johnson. He ought to be strung up if he does not use Duke Johnson in the passing game.
Oh, yeah. No, listen, that's if I'm a Browns fan, as much as I might have liked having Carlos Hyde, I wondered what the point of that was when you have Chubb. I guess you feel you don't know what you have with a rookie, so you want to have it. But I look at Duke Johnson a little bit like Gio Bernard. Man, give him the ball, man. The guy can play.
You can split him out. You can do a lot of things with him.
He was playing wide receiver. I mean, he's basically been playing wide receiver the last year and a half. It's crazy.
So if you want somebody if you're a Steelers fan, you're getting ready for this game to me, and also if you play fantasy, and we'll get into that here in a little bit here, but Duke Johnson could be a very sneaky play in this game because I think he could have 10 or 11 touches and a good game. I think he could, quite possibly have one big one in this one, getting split out wide, singled up on Vincent Williams or something like that. That's what I'm trying to do if them. Now, look, we talked about, remember back in that first game against the Browns, and we're talking, well, they did a fairly good job about controlling the run, except for in the third quarter, like those 6 or 7 runs by Chubb and Carlos Hyde, almost right in a row there. Well, obviously, you don't have Carlos Hyde to worry about anymore here. So Chubb is a guy that you can kind of key on here, and then, they'll probably try to sprinkle in a little bit Duke Johnson here. Remember, Tyrod Taylor killed you with his feet in that first game. Are you so much worried about Baker Mayfield doing that? Probably not. But you better be careful with him taking off with the football a time or two as well. As I said at the top of the show, this is a much different Browns team than the Steelers played in Week 1. I think this goes back to just don't turn the damn football over and everything will be just fine.
All right, how about a word from our sponsor? Okay, speaking of turnovers, as we did, you left us off there. That's what the Browns defense has done. And obviously the fumble by James Conner and the 20 that was returned to the goal line in Week 1 was the key play for the Browns, and that maybe the key play in the game. For that one, a 21-7 game with about 7 minutes left. The Browns have been able to generate turnovers. Steelers defense, not so much.
Browns lead the league in net differential with 10. They have 20 total takeaways. How many of those did the Steelers give them in Week 1?
3? No, how many interceptions Ben threw in that game? A ton, right?
Threw like 2 or 3, right? And then, hold on.
He threw
Trying to go back here real quick, and Ben had 3 interceptions in that game, and total turnovers. The Steelers turned it over 6 times in that game.
Yeah, that's not good.
It's amazing they got out of that with a tie, right? Because
Cam Sutton made a play.
TJ Watt blocked a field goal, and
they both teams could say they should have won that game. I mean, Boswell kicks a 42-yarder. They missed, whatever. It's maybe the result was deserved for both teams, but both teams walked off that field, I'm sure, thinking they should have won the game. So, but the Steelers had them 21-7 late with the ball. They should have won the game.
Remember, Ben fumbled twice in that game, lost both of them. Connor, of course, fumbled, and then Ben threw the deep ball interception on a miscommunication with AB, and then he tried to force one in to who was it that he tried to force that one into? Was it Ward? Well, remember, one went off Jesse James' hands, right through Jesse James' hands. That was picked by Ward. I think Randall picked him one time, and then Ward got him.
Ward got him twice. Yeah,
Ward got him twice in that game. So look, don't turn the football over 6 times. I'm going to go out on a limb and say if the Steelers don't turn the football over 3 to half the many times in this game, they got a good chance at winning this one. Now,
who has on offense? Who has a 100-yard stat line? Antonio Brown, Juju, Vance, James Conner. Give me one who has a 100-yard stat line.
Total yards from scrimmage.
Yeah.
I think Conner is a slam dunk. For one, I think 2 others will as well too. I bet Ben throws for over 300, well over 300 in this game somehow. Give me Antonio over 100 yards receiving. Give me.
I'm going to go yes on that as well.
Give me Juju over 100 yards receiving in this one as well, and give me James Conner with over 100 yards from scrimmage in this one.
All right.
3. That might be a good question. How for the Friday night 5?
I'll go with 2. I'll go with Conner, and I'll go with AB.
Okay. The thing is too that we haven't talked a lot about. starting field position for the Steelers offense in a lot of these games just been horrible, so
because they're not getting any turnovers, and
because they're not getting any turnovers, and some of these punters they faced this year just booming them. I mean, and look, Ryan Switzer hasn't been bad, right? I mean, it's just that.
No, it's not on Switzer. It's the Steelers have lost the battle of field position with the punters. Again, Barry's been incredibly erratic, and as you say, some of these guys they've seen him. Everybody's Ray Guy when they play the Steelers.
Seems that way. Here's a few key stats from you from that first game. They weren't bad the Steelers offense wasn't bad on third downs at all. 7 of 15. That's almost 50%. They put up 472 total net yards of offense in that game. Now the average gain per play was just under 6 yards. They had 159 net rushing yards in that game, 313 net passing yards in that game. The real killer was a full football field full of penalties. They had 12 penalties for 116 yards. That was killer. Obviously, the six turnovers were killer in that game, and they had 7 punts that averaged only 39.3 yards in that game. They missed 1 field goal, obviously, and they just barely won the time of possession in that. So much went wrong back in that Week 1 game for the Steelers that if they clean up a couple of those things, it shouldn't be in a problem. Because of the narrative coming out of that first game, Villanueva versus Garrett, I thought I did a good job of cleaning that up and explaining why Garrett's stat line, while it was good, didn't come at the expense of Villanueva. I'm expecting Villanueva to handle him pretty decently. Again, obviously you don't want to get in a situation where Ben's having to throw 40 times in this game and Garrett gets that many runs at him, because you are asking for it when those type of things happen here. But this is a good Browns defense regardless. And the biggest thing I think goes back to kind of what we talked about previewing this game to start with. If the Steelers can come out fast, David, and jump on this Browns team with, a quick touchdown and maybe 10-0 right out of the chute for whatever reason, that might be too much for the Browns to overcome in this game. However, if they mess around and go into halftime, 3 points down or 3 points ahead, we've all bought tickets to that movie before.
Yes, we have. And the Steelers they played the Browns at the end of the year. This is what's interesting here is the Steelers are going to they're going to be done with the Browns here at halfway point of the season. They're going to be done with the Ravens next week. A little bit of a different schedule and a different time to see the Browns. And as somebody pointed out to us on Twitter, Dave, the last 5 Browns coaches, Pettine, Chudzinski, Schumer.
That sounds like a law firm.
What's that?
Name those 3 again. Sounds like a law firm.
Yeah, exactly. So the last 5, the point being, the last 5 Browns coaches have been fired after a loss to the Steelers. Now, a bunch of those games were at the end of the year, but as we talked, I don't think this will be the week. But if the Browns, the 3 games into the bye week, as Scott pointed out on Wednesday, they get the Steelers, they get Kansas City at home, and they go to Atlanta. This could be the first kick in the groin for the end of few, because if that's actually, I don't expect the Browns to win any of these 3 games. Vegas certainly isn't going to expect them to win any of these 3 games. So might be it's a big game for the Browns. If they lose this, we can decide whether the season's already over. But if they lose this, their season is over in terms of even thinking about the playoffs. So it'll be interesting to see how they come out.
I did some more digging. I'm going to write about this, I think, this afternoon before I make some spaghetti. You want to come over and have some spaghetti for lunch?
Yeah, I would love to. I haven't eaten yet today, so I'm good. So spaghetti sounds good.
Okay, here's what I dug up yesterday on Pro Football Reference. Baker Mayfield will be the 18th quarterback to start a game at Heinz Field during his rookie season. How many of the previous 17 rookie quarterbacks to make a start during the rookie season, blah, 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 at Heinz Field have won?
Well, we used to talk about that Dick LeBeau stat, and then that stat started to be less meaningful toward the end of LeBeau's time in Pittsburgh because some rookie quarterbacks played very well against the Steelers. I'm going to guess the answer is 1. What do you got?
2. Dak Prescott a couple years ago. Remember?
Yep, that screen pass to Zeke Elliott for 75 yards up the right sideline.
All right, now who was this game? This game is so far ago you probably don't remember, but it is actually the first rookie quarterback to make a rookie season start at Heinz Field. Do you remember who that was?
No idea.
David Carr.
With the Texans, was that the 24-6 game? The 3 interceptions for a touchdown, whatever it was.
24-6.
Steelers outgained three. Steelers outgained them 447 to like 81.
24-6. You are correct, sir. David Carr completed 3 of 10 pass attempts in that game for 30.
I think the Steelers had over 400 total yards. I think the Texans had 47 net yards in that game.
I will give you the specifics on that here in just a minute. But that is only 2. What year did I say that was? 2002, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, sounds right.
Is that? I mean, that's a pretty daunting stat, right? I mean.
Rookie quarterbacks on the road. I'm sure they're winning. Rookie quarterbacks on the road. I would assume the general winning percentage is something like 25%. I'm not.
All right, total net yards in that game for the Texans, 47.
Thank you. I do not have my computer pulled up for that game. Nailed it. Patting myself on the back hard.
Third downs in that game. Houston was 1 of 12. The Steelers' total net yards in that game, 422. The Texans averaged 1.2 yards per play in that game. They only ran 40 offensive plays in total. The Steelers turned the football over 5 times in that game. Tommy Maddox threw 2 interceptions. Antoine Randall fumbled it twice and lost 2 of them. Tommy Maddox fumbled once and lost that one in that one as well too. In that one, 3 of 10 for 33 yards for David Carr in that game. They're scoring. The Texans scored on a 40-yard fumble return, a 70-yard interception return.
Yeah, down the left sideline. Like I vividly remember where I was watching that. I was not in the stadium.
A Chris Brown 43-yard field goal in the fourth quarter, and another Aaron Glenn 65-yard interception return in that game. So they had 21 putos in that game, and I wonder if the Chris Brown a muffed punt led to their final field goal in that game.
All right, let's get to our picks because I got to get to work. And Dave, our guys, you got me again last night. I think you've hit Thursday night every week this season.
All but one, I think. All but the first one. It's free. It's free money Thursdays with Dave.
It is Free Money Thursdays with Dave. It was not Free Money Thursdays with this Dave. But hey, sometimes it's more entertaining when you have action on the game. It is definitely more entertaining when you have action on the game when you win. You've heard Dave and I talking about it all year long. Whether you're an expert or a rookie, you should be betting at mybookie.ag. You want to bet a little? You play as they say, play the roulette wheel or get a parlay. Get a 5-team parlay for the weekend. Put down 100. You got big money. You turn that into 4 figures. So much going on. Baseball, Baseball World Series Game 3 tonight. You got the Pens putting it on the Calgary Flames last night in a big way. Two wins on the West Coast trip with Sid's big goal against the Oilers. You got all sorts of things you can do there. Everything's there, the fantasy stuff, anything you want. They've been in business for years, great reviews. Their mobile site's easy to use. And I've said this before, but this is for real. The 100% bonus, this is the last time they are offering, the last week. I've said they're going to take it away before this is it. If you haven't manned up yet, it's time to make your move. After Sunday's kickoffs, it's gone. So be sure to follow at MyBookie on Twitter or Instagram. They personally respond to every mention and direct message. They've given away now nearly $10,000 in free money to their followers this football season. So you use our promo code TERRIBLE, and they'll match up to $1,000. This is the last week they'll do it. If it's your first deposit of the year, you get 100% match. Promo code TERRIBLE. You play, you win, you get paid. MyBookie.ag.
And isn't there what's her Twitter account? Isn't it BetMyBookie?
Sorry, yes, at BetMyBookie.
Go ahead and make sure you tweet at them. Let them know that you heard them on the Terrible podcast, and who knows, you might get a little bit of free money that way as well too.
All right, what do we got? Open up MyBookie and see what we got.
All right, we'll lead off with Philadelphia at Jacksonville. Jacksonville actually getting some points at home, 3.5. Yeah,
this is a big game for both teams. The Eagles up 17-0 last week and lose. And, we know what's going on. Blake Bortles, I don't know if it's his last week as a starting quarterback, but if he has another, you don't really have options in Jacksonville, but if he has another terrible game, he might get benched. But I'm taking the Eagles in this one, Dave.
I'll take the Eagles and lay the 3.5 on the road against Jacksonville as well.
Denver at Kansas City, 1:00 start in Kansas City, 10.5.
Wow, the first meeting between these two teams was just a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it? And a little bit closer than what we thought. I think Kansas City comes out and takes care of them like they probably should have the last time there. Give me Kansas City at home, later 10.5.
I'm going to have trouble betting against the Chiefs all year long because they're so damn fun to watch. I'm with you on that. Bears minus 8.5 against the Jets in Chicago. I'll take the Jets plus 8.5. I think the Jets are a decent team.
Yeah, I think, it'd be interesting to see how they're able to hold up against Mac. Won't our boy Kelvin Beachum probably have to line up a few times against Mac in this game as well too? I just think that Bears defense is going to get after Sam Darnold in this game. Give me the Bears minus 8.5 at home against the Jets.
Skins minus 1.5 against the Giants. This is my weekly bet against Eli Manning. Give me the Skins on the road, laying points.
One of these times, the Giants are going to win one of these. I think this one might be it. Give me Saquon Barkley plus the 1.5.
Interesting game in Detroit. Two teams kind of in the mid tier in the NFC. The Lions and the Seahawks. The Lions in Detroit. 1:00 start. The Seahawks in Detroit. 1:00 start. Minus 2.5 for the Lions. I'll take the Lions.
You know what? This is going to be we'll find out who we talked about Seattle being one of those just in net yards for passing attempt teams and all like that. I think this is going to be a test. Let's find out if they're real or not in this game. If their defense can handle Matthew Stafford and that Lions offense and all, and if they can score a few points in this game, I think that then Seattle probably needs to be taken for real. So with that, I'm going to expect them to play good. I think Seattle can win this outright. So give me Seattle plus the 2.5 on the road against Detroit.
Tampa at Cincinnati. This is an interesting line. It's Bengals minus 4.5. Jameis Winston's played okay. But their defense is terrible. The Bengals will continue to be banged up. The Bengals can't lose games like this if they want to stay in the hunt. So the Bengals win. The question, in my mind, is 4.5. The over-under is 54.5. That's asking a lot for the Bengals offense. Dave, I'm going to take Tampa plus the points on a Bengals win.
You know what? I've bad-mouthed the Bengals, haven't I? So I better put –
we both did.
I said that these next, 3 or 4 games we could be looking back and laughing at where they were and how we were talking about them at one time. I think they lose this one, David. And if they do, boy, you want to talk about the people coming. The hot seat for Marvin. Marvin probably likes it now. Probably feels good on the back. He's been.
It's getting cold out.
Yeah, it's getting cold out. He probably looks forward to that annual hot seat that he has in Cincinnati there. You see that video from overseas? Was it Australia or wherever about that escalator that got moving at about 80 miles an hour and all them people falling off that escalator? That's what it's probably going to look like in Cincinnati after this game here. So all that said, give me Tampa Bay plus the 4.5.
I have to say, Vegas, I'm a little surprised Vegas has fully bought in on this one. Carolina is a dog at home, getting 2 against the Ravens. I would have assumed at the beginning of the week this line would have been flipped the other way, and Carolina would get enough respect by the gamblers in Vegas thinking that it would be the other way. But So be it. I'm going to take the Panthers +2 at home. Maybe it's my heart on this one, but let's go Carolina.
Man, this is going to be an interesting game for sure. Ravens defense is so. I'm not gonna bet against the Ravens, David. Give me the Ravens on the road. I think Justin Tucker field goal is the difference in this one. So lay the 2.
Indy at Oakland. Who's the better quarterback in this game? Andrew Luck's starting to look like Andrew Luck. Did you buy into the David Carr hype 2 years ago? Was David Carr going to be on that trajectory to be a top 10 quarterback in the NFL? Because he's certainly not that right now. I think Andrew Luck is. Colts go into Oakland -3.5, and they win comfortably.
I don't know if you follow that Scott Cashmere from Pro Football Reference.
I do. He's good. I like Scott.
He has been telling us for a while that Derek Carr is not who people are saying that he is.
Yep. And by the way, Amari Cooper not there to help him this week.
Right. So I think Captain Andrew Luck gets one in Oakland. Lay the 3.5.
Interested to hear what he calls the Raiders this week. I'll have to check his feed. San Francisco goes into Arizona. Arizona +1.5. Give me Josh Rosen a win at home over the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, I think San Francisco is just going to be too tough offensively for them. As long as they don't turn the ball over, they should be fine, I think. Give me the 49ers lay the 1.5 on the road against Arizona.
All right, I got the cards in that one. Rams -9 against the Pack at home.
Who would have thought this, right?
Yeah, well, one of those things where Aaron Rodgers does some things on national TV that I love Aaron Rodgers. I think he's the best there is right now. But he hasn't had as great a season as maybe people perceive. I don't think the Packers are that good, to be honest with you. I think they get rolled in this one. Give me the Rams -9.
What does it say about the Rams if they roll the Packers?
They just quit and have the Rams and the Chiefs playing the Super Bowl. I'll tell you what, it would be one hell of an entertaining game right now.
Right where we stand right now, it certainly would. I can't give Aaron Rodgers those kind of points, David. Give me the Packers +9.
Okay, Dave, Saints-Vikings. Saints go into Minnesota. It's a pick'em game. Big game for both teams, man. Drew Brees and that offense has been great this year. Adam Thielen, a lot of talk about him being the best receiver in the NFL. You know what? He has been this year, no question. We're not used to seeing a white guy be the best receiver in the NFL. It's been a long time. That conversation probably hasn't even been had since Steve Largent. But Thielen's been awesome. I like the Vikings at home in this game. Big ramifications for this game in the playoff picture in the NFC.
Give me the Saints. Give me the Saints on the road. We have a lot of differences this week, so give me the Saints over the Vikings and pick them.
All right, and we roll to the Monday night game. Patriots 14.5 on the road over the Bills. Give me the Patriots. I probably won't watch that one. I don't know. Maybe I will.
Yeah, 14.5. I mean, that just doesn't seem like enough for the Bills there. So give me the Patriots to cover that on the road.
Steelers -8.5 at Heinz Field, 1 o'clock on Sunday. I don't love this line. The Browns, they've played the Steelers close. Some of these games haven't mattered at the end of the season. I don't think they're a terrible football team. I think the Steelers can be a good football team. I thought the Steelers would blow out the Ravens. I thought they would blow out the Falcons, and I thought they'd have a close game against the Bengals and win. I think this game is going to be a little closer than fans would like, but I'll give the Steelers a 27-20 victory in this one. But it means I'm taking the Browns plus the 8.5.
Yeah, I'm going the opposite way. I hope we're not talking about a loss or a close game in this one. It's going to be hard to kind of explain that other than more turnovers and whatever. I have 27 as the Steelers' magic number as well in this one, but I only had the Browns scoring 9 points in this one. I have the Steelers blowing them out, David, 27-9. So obviously I have them laying the 8.5. The over/under on this one is 48.5. So I guess that says I'm taking the under in this one. Here is the first half line in this one. Steelers -5.5.
So you're going to hedge yourself and get on Cleveland with the stat fancy that you presented earlier.
I think I am. I think I'm going to hedge this one and give me the Browns in the first half. I think the Steelers do their damage in the second half. So you want to get on my bookie and make a little bit thanks to Uncle Dave this week. Take the Steelers, lay the points, take the under and then fill out that 3-team parlay with the Browns plus 5.5 in the first half there. How's that?
I like it. I like it.
Call that 1-900 number now. You never did that, did you, David?
Nope.
Okay. I think we whooped this one into shape pretty good. So you can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. You can follow David Todd on Twitter at David M. Todd. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast at gmail.com. If you'd like to help pay for some voice speaking lessons for me, go to SteelersDepot.com, hit that donate button in the upper right navigational bar. If you want a ad-free version of SteelersDepot.com, go to SteelersDepot.com, hit ad-free for $25 a year, calendar year. You can have an ad-free version of SteelersDepot.com. Don't forget to get after my bookie as well too. They've been a great sponsor. They've decided to sign on with us through the rest of this season as well too. So we thank them for the support. That's all I got. We'll talk on Monday, David.
As always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Dave.